In this video, we are going to be looking at brand new, this Traxxas Sledge, doing the first couple modifications to it. So I'm going to be predominantly running this vehicle on 4S, and honestly, it feels like it needs just a little bit more speed than what the 4S typically provides. So we're going to get this cover off, we're going to start pulling the motor, and we're going to see what it takes to swap out this pinion gear with one that's just a little bit bigger. Welcome everyone, my name is Troy, this is Roadside RC. You will tend to find me bashing and crawling and drifting and racing, plus doing product review videos and how-tos. So today, the Traxxas Sledge comes with actually a rather small tooth count pinion on it straight out of the box. We're going to be putting a different one on there. We're going to start by taking off this plastic cover over the center diff. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 screws and it'll come off. Well, that doesn't quite work. It's completely loose, but it can't come up enough to come out because of the T-brace. So it looks like we're going to have to take off at least one end and see if it'll raise up a little bit. If not, 1 and 2 screws, and then the whole T-brace should come out of the way. Well, good news. So just the one lets that come up and off. Then this cover can come out. You actually now have full access to that center diff. And oh, check this out. This is interesting. So my center diff has been eaten away by some rocks somewhere. Oh, that's no good. That is moments from being dead right there. Flipping the truck over, we are then going to take out the 4 motor mount screws and get this whole motor, clamshell, everything up and out. And just like that, there it is. So we have the whole thing up and out of there. It's relatively easy actually. With the motor out here, we actually can look at this a little bit more detailed, this whole clamshell design here. You know, you can see how it clamps down on that motor, but they still have the 2 screws here in the front to help solidify it. I mean, that seems pretty solid. We also see this little, I don't know, tab mount, whatever it has in here. Now, I'm actually a little bit surprised. I thought maybe that this would come, the vehicle would come with maybe with some different ones of these for different gears. Because this actually physically says on it 1352. So this is for a 13-tooth pinion, 52-tooth spur. And it helps, it sits right here in this groove as you set the motor down in. And it really helps hold everything in place while you put the motor screws in. And then your mesh is set really nicely. Awesome. But if you're going to use that system, it means you have to have different ones of these for different gear ratios. I'm looking in the manual, and in the manual you can see that it shows 2 different part numbers, but I can't find the 2 different part numbers. I can find 9590, which is the stock one. Already got that, don't need it. 9589 I can't find anywhere yet. Don't know what that is. There is this whole piece maybe here, maybe that's what it is, maybe it's a grouping of those 2, but like so far I'm not finding anything to purchase except for the stock one. And there's nothing in the bag that came with for different ones. So if I'm going to be putting a different pinion on here, I'm going to have to just literally get rid of this and set it manually, set the mesh manually, and wish it the best of luck and hope that it doesn't move. You know, it's really interesting. A lot of people complained about the pin system in the X-Max and some of those other fixed gear ratio systems that you see in other vehicles where, you know, it's kind of a clocked system here and you just turn it and stick it in whichever gearing you're putting on there. Those are super more convenient because you don't have to purchase anything more and you can use the stock system. It's one and done as it sits right now. Yes, we're still early on in the process of this whole vehicle coming out, so maybe more of these will be coming. But yeah, I'm meh. We'll take it off, we'll get rid of it, we'll throw a different pinion on it, we'll see what happens. The first gear ratio set that I'm going to be trying is a 15-tooth. So this is Mod 1 gearing, 1.0 mod gearing. Yes, the factory gear is a 13-tooth. So I'm going to go from a 13 to a 15. It shouldn't be anything crazy, but those 2 extra teeth, I mean, what does that represent? A little over 10% improvement in total wheel speed. So should be able to notice it for sure. So that's what I'm going to be doing to start with. Now, we know there's a lot of speedrun folks out there that are already trying to figure out just how fast can this truck go? Can they get it to 100? So what I found is my 20-tooth spur from GDS Mod 1. It is the biggest gear that you can get in the truck is a 20-tooth. So I have the motor mount screws in the bottom, maybe a 21 tooth. If I pull this way over, I have the screws in the bottom, but they're not tight, so trying to limit how much I can move it. And it looks like maybe a 21 tooth is as big as you're going to get in there with the factory mount. So until someone makes a different mount, or until we can find a smaller spur gear, 20 or 21 tooth is as big as you're going to get to go. Motor's all the way back in. I'm not going to lie, without the other tool and having to flip the truck over to mount the motor, it took me 2 or 3 shots before I was happy with the gear mesh in there. Did put a lot of Loctite on those screws because we do not want them to back out. We do not want them to loosen up. So we're going to let that dry for 24 hours before we drive the truck. If you were curious about what size pinion and how to change it on the Traxxas Sledge, now you know how to get the cover off, now you know how to get the motor off, reset it, and a 20 to 21 tooth is as big as you can get in there. I hope that was helpful for you. I'm really interested to see some of you folks out there doing speed runs, 4S and 6S with all the way up to a 20, 21 tooth. And then once we get a smaller spur, we can even go more crazy with it. But for what we have right now with this Traxxas Sledge, it looks like those are our options. And you got to ditch that factory kind of helper for gear mesh. You got to kind of ditch that and just set it manually. But been doing that for years, not a big deal. So I'm going to get to work on some other things for this Traxxas Sledge. I'm going to ask you to come over here, check out some other videos that I've already made with it, and we will see you in that next one. Thank you and goodbye.